everybody, welcome back to another episode of
I would like to have a conversation.
Nailed It. In this episode, we're talking to Todd again, and this time we're talking about clarity, getting clarity on what it is that you want, what it is that you're passionate about, and trying to align the things that you want to do every day with that. And it was a really good conversation because it was just like a moment in time for Todd where he gained massive clarity on exactly what he wanted to do with his life. It was really cool, and you can see it here, it come through on the combo. But what do you guys think about it?
I don't know, I just wasn't going to say what was clarity and like you just said it.
Yeah, it's like knowing what it is that you want to do every single day. Sound pretty cool? What do you think, Ruby? Yeah, sound pretty cool? Ah, thumbs down. No! We're going in for a swim. Who's pumped up for a swim? Yes! I'm the only one. Thanks, everybody. See you in the next episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of I Would Like to Have Conversation, and I'm back with Todd. I have no idea how many we've done now. We've done a few in a row, which is pretty cool. But there's something we wanted to talk about today. We've literally been talking for nearly 30 minutes already, and it was around this idea of resistance. So I've got a book back here called Turning Pro, and Stephen Pressfield wrote it, and he uses the term resistance as his force that kind of pushes back against what it is you're trying to do, like what it is you're trying to work towards. And it's kind of like that voice in your head where, well, it could be anything. So it's kind of like a catch-all, which is why I really like the book, where anything that's kind of like trying to derail you, the voices in your head like it's trying to tell you that you're not worth the transformation you're trying to have, or imposter syndrome, or this thing's really hard, maybe it's easy to go watch Netflix, all those things. It's kind of like that's resistance trying to keep you where you are, which is what your brain tries to do. And in the sense of Todd, we're going to talk about a big shift in you just recently, where it's kind of like the clarity you got on what direction you wanted to go kind of reduced that resistance voice, I would say, to allow you to go in that direction with more flow. But yeah, let's start ripping straight into it in the sense of like, give everybody a little bit of the backstory about what's been kind of happening for you, and we can kind of go on from there. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be super interesting. Maybe not for everybody, but I think it's going to, like, they can tie it into whatever it is they're doing, and they'll pick up key elements. I reckon that will help.
You got it. Thank you. Yeah. So some background I think is important. I've had my clinic for 10 years. And when we first started out in the chiropractic clinic, we were doing a lot of typical chiropractic adjustments. I know this may sound weird coming from a chiropractor, but there was a period where, we shifted away from just away from the adjustments and more into this very specific soft tissue technique. And we started like getting much better results. The adhesion release, shout out to adhesion release methods. But I didn't go all in on it. So I was doing a very, I didn't adopt all the systems. I didn't really bring it all in, but I was doing the soft tissue and I was getting some good results. But in order for a system to work, and we'll talk about this another time, in order for the system to work, we need to go all in on that system. So I say all that because I would say a couple years into the clinic, I was like looking for something more. I wasn't happy. I wasn't like satisfied inside the clinic. So I ended up joining, it's called Active Life. It's a company where we were remotely programming for people to get out of pain. It started with mainly working with CrossFitters, and then it transitioned into the general population. And so after working with them for a couple of years, I decided about 2.5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to go on my own. And instead of staying within like the chronic pain rehab world, I decided to become a nutrition coach and work with people with weight loss and nutrition. And all that background is important is because for the last 2.5 years, it's been some of the more trying times I've ever had in my life. And when I look back on it, especially after this recent shift, I can recognize what Stephen Pressfield is talking about in this resistance. This 2.5 years of just massive resistance, just feeling, and I believe in some of our talks in the past, I communicated, man, I just feel like I'm running uphill all the time. And when is this going to feel, and trust me, like owning a small business, right, is never going to like necessarily feel like, easy per se. But there was a lot of moments where I actually quite often I was questioning, like, am I doing the right thing? Is this like, you can talk about alignment, you can talk about whatever you want. I was like, I just felt massive resistance. And I have gone to dark places. Like my mental health took a turn. And for 2.5 years, I felt like I've just been struggling. I've been doing my best to, keep my head above water, literally just treading water, and waiting for this break, waiting for like the nutrition to take off. And my resistance in the 2.5 years just came in the form, I believe, of doing something that I was out of alignment with. And so now with what recently happened, and I'll share with everybody, is the adhesion release that I was doing inside the clinic was something that I was really, I'm really passionate about. But when I wasn't putting in the systems, my clinic wasn't going to the places that I knew it could go. And 6 weeks ago, I went to an accelerator. So for the adhesion release providers, the accelerator is a chance for the providers to come get hands-on training and to really accelerate their skill set. So after 6 weeks ago, I went to one, and I came back and I was like, all right, like I was starting to get really dialed in the clinic. And I came back and I implemented some things about the system that I wasn't doing before. And I saw the practice just take off. Like we went from treating like 70 some patients a week, like immediately within like the week or two, all the way up to like over 100. And fast forward another 4 weeks from there. So 2 weeks ago, I went down to another accelerator. This time it was for a different body region, because I had gone to a couple of the lower body. So we work on like the back and the legs and the nerves there. Then I went to the upper body, and I came back and I had some, discussions with my other mentor, Chris, and we talked about how can we accelerate. I have so many Chris's in my life. How can we accelerate? How can we accelerate the growth of this clinic? I have the skill set. I have the ability to get people better. I'm seeing it every day with the systems in place. I'm seeing not only are people getting better at phenomenal rates, referrals are up. People see what's happening with their chronic pain or their acute pain, and the referrals just went through the roof. And after 2 weeks ago, when I came back from that accelerator, I just had this aha moment where the biggest thing that was, and everybody says this, was holding me back was my awareness around where my passion lies. And my passion lies, like a big part of it is in the clinic, getting people better, getting people out of chronic pain. But also, something that I had put on the shelf for a long period of time, thinking that I wanted to strictly do nutrition and weight loss, was the remote rehab that I was doing, and that I still had been doing for a few clients. I had a couple clients in the country of Qatar, and I currently have a couple local clients as well. And that I came back and I just had this massive clarity, and I was like, why don't I blend the two and work on not only building my clinic to the heights that I know I can now take it, but why don't I shift my focus online to gear it more towards helping people out of chronic pain remotely? And as much as I kind of look at things in tiers, as much as I think that everybody in chronic pain needs adhesion release, if I can't get my hands on them, then I think the second best thing for me to be able to do to help these people is remotely program for them, because I have, like years of experience doing this. And in these past 2 weeks, I'd say for the past 6 weeks, but for the past 2 weeks in particular, I've had massive clarity around where my life is finally going to go. And on top of that clarity has come a sense of just calm and peace. And it doesn't feel like I'm in the eye of a hurricane type of calm and peace. It feels like the hurricane is like completely past, if I'm going to stick with that analogy. And I want to talk about how that's shown up in my life. It's not only shown up for my own mental and physical health. Like, I don't feel my body is under this massive amount of stress. I don't wake up trying to figure out my life anymore at 40. But what it's also done is that massive clarity has allowed for me to take this pressure off of myself and the people who are close to me, like my wife and my kids. And I'm not proud and happy that I placed that pressure on myself and on them, and ultimately have it spill over on them. But what it's allowed for me to do is be the father that I want to be the husband that I want to be, because I'm not carrying this weight in my head. I'm not carrying the weight of trying to be something that I'm not. I'm not carrying the weight of being out of alignment, whatever you want to call it, with doing something that I felt massive resistance to. And you brought up something that I want to make a clarification on, because you gave some examples in regards to, okay, resistance can look in, I guess, come in many different forms. One could be, hey, if I feel like I should be working on this, but I want to go watch Netflix, right? The resistance is to the work, but it's easier to just go do Netflix. Well, in this case, the resistance for me, even though I was showing up and doing the work of trying to build my nutrition business, I just had so much resistance around doing the work. And I believe that some people will experience their own resistance that will come in the form of, maybe you're not either A, going all in on what you say you want to do, which I think is a part of the nutrition. I think there was a reason why I didn't go all in and spend hours making videos and stuff like that. But a big part of the resistance was because I was out of alignment with what it was that I wanted to do in this world. And when I had that, I had that revelation and massive clarity, it freed up so much space in my head. I now wake up with clarity around what my day-to-day is. I've gotten back into routinely going to the gym. I had taken not so much time off, but I was just going very sporadically, because I get it. When people are going through this kind of these depressive states and these dark swings, it's really hard to continue doing the things that you want to do for yourself. And all in all, the resistance that I felt, I let it go on for 2.5 years. And I was asking myself tough questions, but I don't think I was answering them accurately and honestly. And I know that can be tough for people when we don't know exactly what the future holds for us. But I can promise you it'll look a lot clearer when you can get massive clarity around what direction you want to run in. And I hope that answered like some of what we were talking about. But when you talk about resistance versus flow, the last thing I'll share, and I'll let you ask any questions or take over. But
you're out.
2.5 years of being in massive resistance, like I'm swimming upstream, and the past 6 weeks have been like as if I'm on my surfboard, just floating with the current. And it's been a really cool ride. And I understand that the last 2.5 years was required for me to teach me all those things. But you don't have to spend 2.5 years resisting something. Um, and so I'll leave it. I'll leave it at that. It's just like the past 2 weeks in particular have been I've just been riding a really big high in regards to seeing where I'm able to take this clinic, because if I did anything, I lied to myself about wanting to be out of the clinic, which I did for a short period of time. I kind of stepped out and let my wife take over. And then now that I'm back in, I'm super focused. I understand what I'm supposed to do every day. I'm back to the gym. I'm back to like just being dialed in with my nutrition, my sleep habits. And if this is what flow looks like, then, I'm finally glad that I've been able to achieve that. And the only other place I'll tell you that I've ever kind of touched this type of flow is on a basketball court. So, and that's been 20 some years since I played college basketball. So
I reckon we lean into that. So it's kind of like we're talking about it through the sense of like your career and your business, but we'll put it into context with people who are just looking to make a change in their life, so to speak, in their wanting to shift away. So that whole thing of like, I'm here now, this is where I am. I don't like where I am. I just want to get anywhere. Like you said, just run in a direction. Like we were talking about before, it's Hermosi or someone said it who's like a marketing guru. It's like, just pick a direction and go. Because I use that term like you're under threat and there's resistance. So we look at that like resistance. So we set it like whatever it is, the goal, just get in a direction and run towards it. Have something to chase, something to go after, so you can start knocking over the dominoes, which is the obstacles that come up. But that's the whole awesome part about it, is you're learning stuff that you can pivot left, right, knock over these dominoes, smash through walls, all that kind of stuff, because that's just resistance trying to keep you back. And you learn tools to get past them. But it's something like what you sort of mentioned. You said flow like versus resistance, where you get into that flow state. And people in sport know it, where for me, I used to think my flow state when I was really, really aggressive. And this is early on in soccer, and I would be like heavy metal music and just force it. And I'd get yellow cards for swearing and just an angry shit, really, because I had so much stuff going on. And then I gave up alcohol. So this is why I was still drinking. And I gave up alcohol, and then instead of listening to heavy metal music in the change rooms before going out and playing, I would listen to Chicane, which is the band or the DJ that did the song Saltwater. And it's like super chilled out Sunday vibes. And everyone else is like getting fully riled up and aggressive. And then mine was like, nah, bring it down. Because by this stage, I've had to do a lot of stuff to unpack alcoholism. But I played way better then, because it was effortless. And that's the thing where when you're working towards a goal, something that really, really lights you up, like when you try and picture that thing, the stuff you do towards it should almost feel effortless. It's not easy, but it's like I say magnetic pull. I'm laughing because I was in the King's Gregor yesterday and I said magnetic pull and everyone laughed. So anyway, the magnetic pull is like it's getting you through those sticky resistance spots. And I actually use as like now, after finding out about being a manifesting generator and everything, when I hit frustration, it's usually because I'm hitting up against something that's resisting me and I need to change the direction, see what it is that I'm trying to do. I can still go to that goal, but I might be trying to climb up a cliff wall when there's literally stairs right over there, and just take a few steps to the left and I'll be sweet. That's my right. That's my left. I got that wrong. So that would have been funny. It's interesting because there's a lot of things that say push against resistance and have discipline against resistance. And I'm going to look through the lens of the parents that I work with. And like, even for you, my idea was always like, it's not a discipline thing because you're disciplined in other areas. I never ever think someone lacks discipline, especially parents. Like, you're looking after kids. Like, there is some, but it's usually there's something they've disciplined in elsewhere. And whatever it is that they're trying to work on here might not be the number one priority. It might be number 3, but it still has a goal and they still want to work towards something. But flow versus force, I think, sort of guides on what kind of direction to that goal makes sense. I was actually talking to another coach the other day who are mentoring at the moment or consulting. And then he gets frustrated when people don't want to do the gym work, for example. So this is like, for anyone who's listening, if you ever have like this huge resistance about wanting to do gym stuff, you're like, oh, but I need to do it to get X, Y, Z. I'm like, nah, you don't. There's like 20% of the people in Australia go to a gym, maybe. Probably less than that. So you're actually part of the majority. And that's the biggest thing that the fitness industry's I believe, failed, is we haven't touched on the other 80% because we think they need to fit into our bucket, which is the 20, it's not. There's so many ways that they can get where they want to go without ever having to set foot into a gym, but they think they need to. So if you're listening and you're coming up like, yeah, I want to be, let's just use like strong, fit and healthy for my family. But the idea of going to a gym, it's just dread. Or the idea of strength training is just like, nah. There's so many other ways we can do it. Like, there's like things that you can do aren't needed for you to go to the gym. And if there is that much amount of friction and resistance for you to get that transformation because you think it has to be that one particular way, nah, it's not. I'm trying to without.
Well, this is where I feel like we can
go steps. But yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I think this is
on the web for his friction and resistance for you to get that track.
Siri's trying to tell me what to do.
Siri. But I think this is where, whether we want to bring in, I like the 5-minute rule about even breaking down the steps. If someone truly has the goal of being in the gym because remember, no one really wants to, what's the thing?
That was weird. Anyway, I can edit it all.
Anyways,
no.
Okay. We go to the gym, we do all these things because what it's going to allow for us to do in our lives, right? And if someone has it in their head that they want to be in the gym because it's going to allow for them, and it's how it makes us feel. So if somebody wants to be in the gym because they want to be able to lift this, or I like in your case, maybe they want to do an obstacle course race or something like that, right? But again, is it the obstacle course race, or it's how accomplished they're going to feel,
yes,
And so if that's what we're ultimately working towards, then, but if there is resistance to just getting to the gym, let's break that down. And this is where I think the 5-minute rule is so beautiful in the sense that as long as we don't create more resistance to doing something that shouldn't have a ton of resistance, but the way you've broken it down to me, well, let's add 5 more minutes of walking a day. All right. And I think what's important here too is to have a conversation around what's realistic and what's realistic with our timeline and our goals. Because if that's how you want to feel, and you want to feel that right now, there's going to be a lot of sacrifices that are required. Okay, because you're going to have to upend your life to train for an obstacle course race to get that feeling at the end. But if you're willing to walk the path of making these small changes every day, yes, your mind's going to potentially talk you out of it, but there's going to be much less resistance to getting in 5 extra minutes of walking, so you can build up to your 7,000 to 10,000 steps. And then once you establish that, you realize, okay, well, to do this extra walking, I naturally this is really important to me. So I'm not going to be watching Netflix at night because I want to get up in the morning and get better sleep. It's going to have this beautiful snowball effect that eventually is going to feel a lot more like flow, because as you've, beautifully put in the past, you're leaving yourself clues of this success.
Yeah.
And that's and the biggest hurdle, and often the biggest resistance to a plan like that, is in our brain. Well, I want that now, but I'm not willing to give up everything right now. Well, as a coach, let me show you that you don't have to give up everything, but naturally the things that aren't serving you are going to be, they're going to move out of your life. But let me and let yourself show, I hate to say that like over and over again, but as a coach, let me guide you and walk you through that. So you can show yourself that it is possible. And guess what? When you get that momentum and you put 5 minutes in a day, and then you tack on another 5 minutes of something towards your health, eventually that's going to be a really positive snowball effect where you're going to feel much more in this flow, because now you're putting things together, and we've reduced the resistance or friction, physically in a sense, but maybe not mentally. And now let's have a conversation around why mentally you don't think 5 minutes a day is going to add value to your life. But that's another talk here and there.
Yeah, it's kind of, which is just, the resistance fighting back again when they don't want to do that. And I was just thinking about what you were talking about. It's like almost 2 cups. And it's like you now, it's this one full cup. You're completely full. And there's like this idea of who you want to be. And it's all these, let's say that cup is full as well. And you're looking at it like, one's really colorful, one's really cool, one looks amazing. You want to drink that cup. But you can't put anything in yours because your life is already full. So it's like a gradual swap from the one you want to get away from, and you choose what things you want to shift away. This is why we like the 5-minute rule so much. It's like, just take 5 minutes from here, pour it in the sink, and put a little bit of this colorful drink in there. And then see what that feels like. And then go again and go again. And that's why, like, when people, it's still like a kickback thing, but it's kind of like when you're wanting to make that shift towards this avatar, this idea of who you want to be, and you start collecting proof, you can't just copy and paste. Like, if say we got this colorful cup and your grey murky cup you're in right now is full as well, you can't just get that and just pour it on top and just hope that it mixes through. It's going to cause that spillover effect, which is just a lot of mess. And it's so derailing, because you can do it for a little bit. Like, you can pour it in there and it works all right for a while, then it's like it all goes to shit. I use like the 3-week rule. It's like habit hangover. You go all right for 3 weeks, but then everything comes crashing back, all the important stuff that you kind of pushed aside to get into this new routine. But we didn't make space for it yet. If you take that little bit of 5 minutes and you go, cool, there's something, I've got to fit this thing in. 5-minute walk, I've got to fit it in. What's something I'm willing to move or give up? Get this 5 minutes in. And it's a choice. You choose. And this is where and it just rubs people the wrong way. I know we've got to finish up soon, but once it becomes a choice, and and you're aware of the choice, you can't make an excuse about it anymore. It's totally cool if you want to stay where you are, but you can't say it's because of genetics. You can't say it's because of your lot in life. It's because you choose to want to stay there. Once you know that you can swap this for that in like little increments, you sort of lose, I believe, you lose the right to complain about it, which is almost powerful, I believe, because everyone wants to have agency over their own shit. They want to have ownership of their life. And when there's that thing, it's like, I don't know why I'm not getting the thing that I want. And then you get clarity and awareness, which is what we do as coaches. We bring clarity to what are the current actions and what things can we trade for. And I think that's, it's really, it could be gut-wrenching even just hearing it, but there's clues there that are showing you that your current habits are leading you to what you've got now. And James Clear says it's like atomic habits. And he's like, well, I think we talked about it before. It's like are your current habits optimized to help you achieve the goal? If they are, cool, just be patient. If not, we need to make a shift. And shift one thing at a time, two or three. I'm always like the rule of three. I'm OCD like that. 1 to 2 to 3 things, just move the needle a little bit. So it just changes the direction just enough where you start moving towards your goal. And then in the case of yours, with you and your big shift lately, is like, how do we reduce the chance of a distraction coming in to knock you out of alignment? Because now we know, and like, you know what flow feels like. It's like this calmness where you're just working towards a thing and everything's falling in place. You're showing up energetically for the stuff you need to. Everything's kind of moving the way you want. There's no friction anymore, so to speak. Like, it's challenge,
Right.
but flow loves challenge. So those two things go together, but there's not like this huge friction and resistance and this split in your mind of these two different worlds. And now it's like, cool, I think at this level of calmness, I know exactly what I want. There's huge amounts of clarity and I'm in alignment going towards that thing. I'm back in the gym. I'm back doing this. I'm back doing that. So you know exactly what alignment is now. And then the cool thing is you can create these questions as like your journal prompts every day. So if you ever get knocked out of alignment, you can shift back. So for me, I was like, I've been feeling really, really good and talking about this community I want to build, Space Builders, which we're going to announce soon. And this guy who's in this guidance incubator with me, he wants to create a summit and stuff like that. And we're going to work together to help build up Space Builders and help other guys come in. So it's all working together. And we started talking about finances. Like, how does the partnership break down? And I'm alcoholic, bankruptcy, 3 failed business partnerships. Like, it was like we both, like, and he's had the same thing. We were both like, no, you look after you, and like, no, you look after you. Like, we were trying to be like super caring in that sense. But after that, I felt like shit. And I felt shit for like 2 days, maybe 3 days. I was like, why am I feeling so bad? And it was just the money talk. And I went through and did an assessment. I'm like, what am I missing? Am I currently showing up to walk the dog, which is my resets? Am I currently doing my mobility? Am I actually eating well? Am I following my metabolic 10 rule, which is the 10 foods that make me feel my best? Am I doing the stuff for the kids? Am I doing stuff for Kat? And I went through and just started yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and saw where my gaps were. And then started plugging that in. But then also it was like journaling. I kind of dropped off on journaling because I started feeling so good. So I immediately started journaling again. This will make sense for everybody who's listening, but started the journal prompt of like, why do I feel so shit? Money talk, because of my past history. How can I apply a different meaning where it's going to allow me to be excited about what we're going to do? So I shifted it and said, like, this gives me an opportunity to do it the right way and in a way that I can learn from the stuff I've done in the past that didn't work. And it would have been like within an hour or two, I started feeling really good again. Just as shifting it as like it's an opportunity to learn how to do it the right way. So when anyone who's listening, when you do hit resistance and it feels really shit and you get knocked out of alignment, it's an opportunity where write down, writing's the best. Like, why, like, what's wrong? What's up? Just write it down. And literally, like, how can I apply a different meaning to this current state that I'm in? Knowing that the current state I'm in is exactly where I need to be right now. And then you just put that down there and just like feel yourself just swing back into alignment, which I know it might be hard for people to feel because they might not know what that feels like yet. It's like a feeling of lightness and calmness, I would say. Like, it's not like really flighty energy. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's more like you just feel like everything's gonna just smoothly working through stuff.
If I had to put a word on it, I would say grounded. I feel grounded. And there's a couple things to finish up on a recap of what you just said. One is having that massive awareness around something that doesn't feel right in your body. And you had that around this conversation. And I think that's so, I mean, maybe between you and I, like, it's kind of like it's a part of us when we challenge ourselves. But I always tell clients that is where the work is.
Yeah.
I was like, you work through that and ask yourself tough questions. Like you will get on the other side of this a lot quicker than you think. Number two, what you had talked about in regards to your checklist, I think you refer to those as anchors.
Yeah.
So what Chris is talking about here is go through the checklist of your life. Like the days that things are rocking, you know, when you feel like you're closer to that flow or in that flow, I mean, it's so easy to get away from the things that are, you know, when things are going well. But what Chris did, that checklist, like we talk about anchors a lot with the 5-minute rule and about this progression. And what we're trying to help people do is, as you continue, you know, you add this 5 minutes extra walking, or maybe you've built up to trigger sessions and working out or whatever it is, that's your anchor. You know, we kind of can't go back from that, right? We can't, we've reached that, and now you've achieved this certain level with your anchors. And then there was, and the last thing I just wanted to say was, I'll leave it with this, is Chris has just phenomenal way of asking me, and it sounds like himself, really, really good questions when you feel stuck. So one, I just want people to be aware is, if you're feeling stuck or you feel off about some kind of situation, it's important to hit that head on. And so having that awareness is really important, and asking yourself like those tough questions are really important. And if you need help, definitely reach out, probably Chris more than I. He's got some great questions when it comes to those things. And I think that's really important. So, and one more thing, the last thing I'll say is, if you find yourself in those tough situations and things aren't sitting right in your body, you're most likely going to hit resistance journaling them out. Yeah. And that will be the biggest resistance you may have to help yourself through a situation like you did with the money, to get to the other side so you can move this forward. Because none of us, I think the biggest fear for most people is being in the same spot a year from now, being in the same place, being the same person, and having that no growth. And I'll just leave it at that. Because I do got to jump for a call. But this was great. So hit subscribe. Hopefully, yes, I'm gonna make sure we talk about that. Hit subscribe if you like this. Please reach out if you have anything to say or have anything to share, or if you feel stuck, please reach out to one of us. And I mean, we just love to help people through those stuck times, as long as you're willing to be challenged. And that's it.
I'm going to do a quick shout out to Sandy. She lives locally here, and I've known her for 14 years now and trained her off and on. She sends me a video review of every episode. She does a review of what the episode was like, what it meant to her, and sends it through to me, and it is awesome. Every time I listen to it, like, this is cool. Like, even if it's just one person listening, it is really cool. So we love feedback, and she's just a good person. So I'm going to bring her on at one stage, and we'll talk about her journey through stuff. But yeah, that kind of feedback, we love that stuff. Like, it just helps. It gives us an idea of what direction we should go in with the content. But yeah, thanks everybody. This is good. Todd, you got to go do your call. So let's wrap it up. See you guys later.